giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Marsh
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. Jimmy Murphy, your host. Pierre McGuire will be joining me shortly here on the Eye Test. He is doing his Pittsburgh hit with Mark Madden right now, so he should be on here in about 5 minutes. But we are back full time now in our Monday to Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time slot. So ramping it up. Let's go. Hockey's coming. And we're ready to go here on the Eye Test. We're really excited, Pierre and I, and lots of big things happening for the Eye Test and actually for me and the Sick Podcast Network. As I told you guys last week, well, Pierre mentioned that I had an announcement, but we didn't want to say anything until today. But I guess we can go right to it right now. So let's let Shane roll the trailer.
Bruins Nation, it's your guy, Brendan Sennett. Hockey scribe extraordinaire Jimmy Murphy. We are the Bruins Vibe Podcast, and we are joining the Sick Podcast Network. Jimmy, tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I'm excited to bring this Bruins Vibe Podcast over. We did one season, you and I, on our own last year, but we're going back. We're going to be sick, Brendan. We're going to join the Sick Podcast Network, just like the podcast I host with Pierre McGuire, the Eye Test. We are psyched to bring you the best post-game coverage around for Boston Bruins games. Brendan and I will be here for an hour after every game. We'll take your questions in the chat room, and we will interact with you. We'll calm you down from being too ticked off, and we'll calm you down from being too excited and help you keep that level-minded approach that you need to get through the season. Looking forward to this here on the Sick Podcast Network.
Win or lose, best believe the Bruins Vibe Podcast on the Sick Podcast Network will be sick.
So there you are. We're going to be doing a Bruins post-game show, just kind of like what Tony Marinaro does on his podcast after. Of course, he goes every night, but you've seen the ones that Pierre's guested on and other guests after Montreal Canadiens games. So looking forward to that. We now have a podcast for the Senators out of Ottawa. So the Sick Podcast Network is building fast, and I'm excited to be part of it. Of course, our good friend Shane, the producer here on the Eye Test, has his new podcast starting up soon as well, Trust the Process, which focuses on prospects, mainly Montreal Canadiens ones. But for you Bruins fans out there, definitely check out the Bruins Vibes with Brendan Snott and me. We will be live for an hour after every game. We will have guests, and then we will also interact with you as we do here in the chat room. And then I'm hoping we can do call-ins as well. I'd love to do that. I don't know what the capabilities are for that, but we're going to look into it. But lots of great things happening. So excited about that. And then as far as the Eye Test goes, some good stuff happening. Hopefully that we can announce before the season kicks into full gear in October. And I will keep you posted on that. But here we are. Let's rock and roll. Preseason's right around the corner. We've got the rookie showcase tournaments coming up. I might actually go to Buffalo. I'm looking into it. We'll see. I'm thinking of maybe heading up there for the teams that will be playing in Buffalo. I think it's like the Penguins, the Devils, and the Bruins, and the Sabres, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, we'll be playing there. But we'll be doing that. But still lots of off-season questions to be answered. Obviously here, but in real life, I mean, there's some big question marks for teams. And I think obviously the biggest one right now, and look, we know it's going to get done. It's just a matter of when, how much, and for how many years. And that's Connor McDavid. But I think it's still a story, and Pierre might disagree with me when he comes on. But I don't think it's a story where we should be like, oh my God, he's going to get traded or this is going to happen. But I think it is at least, raises an eyebrow that it's not done yet. I think, and if it doesn't get done before the season starts, my opinion is that both McDavid and the Oilers are asking for a major distraction they don't need as they try to make their way back to the Stanley Cup final for the third straight year. And I think that it would behoove them, no matter what it is, whether it's a long-term, short-term, whatever, just to get that out of the way, because, and look, it's my job as a reporter. So if I'm in the Edmonton media scrum, I'm going to have to ask him about that almost every time until it's done. And that's going to get so tiresome and so annoying for him and his teammates and the team as a whole. So we'll see what happens. But you know what? My co-host is here right now, Pierre McGuire, joining me here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Pierre, how are you, my friend?
Excellent, Jimmy. Thank you very much. Mark Madden from Pittsburgh says hello.
All right. Hello back to him. And Pierre, every time I see you now, you got a better tan. Life down in the South, my friend, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's a tan as much as just hustling around all the time, but yeah, no, it's all good. I heard you talking about Connor McDavid in Edmonton, and I've told you for a long time it's not a difficult negotiation. I don't think it will be a difficult negotiation. I just think they got to get in a room and sort it out. He said some things, obviously, at the Olympic orientation camp, Jimmy, that some people might – I don't want to say they're misinterpreting because I don't think they are.
No.
You can only judge by what somebody says, use their words. That being said, there's unfinished business in Edmonton.
Yep.
And whether it's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, Darnell Nurse, Stuart Skinner, the president of hockey operations there, Jeff Jackson, was Connor McDavid's agent before he left to go to Edmonton. Chris Knobloch was his coach in junior. There's a lot of connection there. I'm not thinking he's leaving anytime soon.
No, I'm with you on that. I've been in these situations. We chronicled it well last year, the Jeremy Swayman situation with the Bruins. I just think it behooves teams and or the player get this thing done before you really start to ramp it up. So people like me, Pierre, don't have to go in there in the scrum and say, "So Connor, what's the deal with with the contract?"
Well, but the difference between him and Swayman didn't have a contract. This guy still has a contract.
Yeah, exactly. This is just an extension.
It's like Crosby. Everybody was saying, well, they better get Crosby done. They better get Crosby done because they're opening the season.
He still had a year.
It was Detroit, Toronto, Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first 3 games of the season when Pittsburgh was going, they're like, what are you going to do with Sidney Crosby? Well, they eventually got a deal done, obviously.
Yeah.
I got to think they'll get a deal done.
Yeah. Speaking of, though, unfinished business is right. And as we speak right now, unless there's something that broke in the last 5 minutes that I didn't see, they still have the same goaltending situation. Now, I'm not knocking the Edmonton Oilers for that because they can't control what the goalie market is out there. And I have no idea what they did try to do or didn't try to do. But do you think this is something that could haunt them again down the road? Or are they now in their comfort zone, understanding that this is the tandem we have, this is what we're going forward with? Or is this something that is open-ended still in your eye?
Oh, I still think they have work to do. There are a bunch of teams. I've been saying this on a lot of different shows over the last little while. There are a bunch of teams that have unfinished business.
Mm.
You go look at the depth chart of the New York Rangers forward position.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfinished business.
Yeah.
You go look at, people are all raving about Carolina. Okay, you rave about Carolina. There's unfinished business there. That roster's got a lot of young players on it, and we'll see how good those young players are because some of their older guys are getting old.
Yep.
People forget that. And if you want to talk about it, Florida Panthers are elite. I have so much respect for how they do their business, but think about 3 straight trips to the final, 4 Nations event last year, Olympics this year.
Yep.
Coming up. They're going to have at least 7 and maybe more at the Olympics.
Mm.
And it's not like it's around the corner. You're going to Milan. I know people are going, oh, they're on a private plane. I've done 7 Olympics. I know how it works. I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but it's still the Olympics. You're still playing. You're still playing best on best. The tempo is amazing. There's time zone travel. And the players don't stay at 5-star hotels. They stay in the Village. And it's great, but it's a way different deal than staying at the Ritz-Carlton or the St. Regis or the JW Marriott.
Yep. I'm with you on that. And, you bring that up there, Pierre, too. It's like some of these teams, Carolina is a great example. I'm glad you brought them up. You bring up how young they are. And something they've lost consecutive off seasons, the last 2 off seasons specifically, you mentioned older guys, but they lost like some guys that weren't necessarily at the end of their career. They're getting older, but they were glue guys, right? They were those type of leaders that you need for those young kids as you transition them into your culture and your locker room. There's a lot of turnover going on right there. I see a close up here with Boston. It takes time, and people don't realize it. Like, when I know the game's played on the ice, but that stuff does have an effect, and you've seen it. You've been a coach, you've been in management, Pierre. When you have guys that are there to kind of mentor the younger guys, and they've been there for a while, and they've sort of set the tone, when they disappear consecutive off seasons, it can translate onto the ice, I would say.
Well said. Agreed.
Yeah.
Here's the one, and I hate putting pressure on players because I don't coach them anymore. When I coach them, it's different. But I will tell you this right now. They better hope, Eric Tulsky better hope, and Rod Brindamore better hope that Keandre Miller turns out the way they need him to turn out. If you look at the defensemen that they've lost over time, whether it's Pesce, whether it's Hamilton to free agency, whether it's Brady Shea, you look at the guys they've lost in Carolina over time, that's tough to overcome. And they need, and Brent Burns, you talk about veteran presence, Brent Burns. So now you better hope, because they need his minutes. They better hope they can. And I've been watching Keandre for a long time, like everybody else. They better hope he's as good as they want him to be and need him to be.
Yep. Pierre, a couple things. We'll sort of just bounce around here. You and I were talking about this team earlier today off air, but I'll bring it up now. Is the Calgary Flames. And, I said to you, I'm trying to figure out what's their trajectory right now. Are they one of these teams that's in the rebuild, but, they're rising, they're going in the right direction? Or are they sort of in that middle range right now where they don't know, are they going up, they're going down? What's your take on where the Calgary Flames are headed?
They'll be competitive because Dustin Wolf allows them to be competitive in goal. If he matches what he did last year, that's going to be phenomenal for them. He was really special. He deserves a lot of credit. I thought he, Celebrini, and Laine Hutson were the three best first-year players in the league. You can debate on a couple of them, but you can't debate on those three guys. Those three guys were clearly the three best young players in the league. I think Coronado's special. I really do. I've been watching Matt for a long time. I think he's a really, really good player. So I think, people forget Backlund's still a very good player. My question about them in Calgary, what are you going to do with Rasmus Anderson?
Exactly.
It's a big – I know people don't want to talk about him much there, but that's a big question for them.
Right.
And I don't know what direction they're going to go. I just don't know. One thing I will say about Calgary – really good move. Bring in Dave Lowry. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Look at Seattle. I got a lot of friends in Seattle. Whether it's the president, the general manager there. There's some really good people there.
Mm-hmm.
But you telling me that Dave Lowry couldn't be on your coaching staff? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you on that, Pierre. I look at the one thing.
That's a good hire by Calgary.
Great hire. But their defense, right? So I'm glad you brought up Anderson, right? It seems like both sides, the player and from everything you read and the quotes they've given, it seems like both sides are sort of accepting it. It's going to wind up being a trade. Eventually, he does get traded away. When is that? We don't know. But once they do trade him away, I'm looking right now at that defense, Pierre. Unless I'm not, look at, I don't have enough guys, enough knowledge of their prospect system, but I'm just looking at what's on the NHL level. And I don't think that's a playoff defense. I don't see a playoff team when it comes to that blue line.
Yeah, you could be right on that. But again, I think Dustin Wolf covers up a lot of blemishes that could be there on defense. Ryan Husk is a much better coach than what we've been talking about him on this show for almost 3 years now.
Yeah,
he's a tremendous coach. Never got nearly enough credit. He's a lot like John Hines down in Minnesota. Doesn't get nearly enough credit for what he does. So there could be question marks about Calgary. Are they a guaranteed playoff team? No, they're not. They're not. Are they better than Vancouver right now? I don't think they are. Are they better than Edmonton? They're not better than Edmonton. So, it's going to be interesting. The team in the West. The team in the West that I think is going to really impress people is at Anaheim. But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But Quenneville going there and this is not a knock on Coach Cronin, who's a friend of this show and a really good friend of ours.
Yep.
This is not on him. It's just that team is maturing. They've done some really good things. Some free agents decided to go there, obviously, because Joel is there. That makes a difference. The leadership of Kreider, I think, will make a difference there. You'll see there's going to be – I think Leo Carlsson could go to another level. The biggest question there, and it's a big question, what happens with Mason McTavish? It's still on the board.
Yep.
It's the biggest question.
We do not plan this. I swear, though, Pierre, that's the next team I was going to was the Anaheim Ducks. in terms of question marks. And of course, you just said that is the biggest question mark there. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I just want to kind of, for those out there, whether it's in the media or fan bases that, have been talking about the Mason McTavish situation, and, we hear trade rumors nonstop around him. People are saying he was going to get offer sheeted. That never happened, of course. But people need to understand that for everything Pierre just said about the direction of the Anaheim Ducks, they didn't go out and hire Joe Quenneville to then turn around and trade Mason McTavish for picks or prospects. They've done that already. They're done with the picks and prospects thing. They're ready to take the next step. Their goal is to make the playoffs. So if your team is going to acquire Mason McTavish, and I still don't think he gets traded, but if he does, whoever that acquiring team is, I think you'd agree, Pierre, is going to have to give up a guy that can go right in their roster, whether it's in the top 6 up front or the top 4 in the back end on the right side specifically, and help them out. They're not just doing this for futures. This is going to be a hockey trade if they can make it happen.
Absolutely. You could not be more correct.
Thank you, sir.
Could not be more correct. And here's the other thing. Mason McTavish is a little bit like Jeremy Swayman.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, but a little bit. So there's a clock ticking now on him.
Yep.
And people say, oh, he's going to get offer sheet. And I told you last summer, there's going to be no offer sheets. And there's going to be major arbitration awards. Not one arbitration went to arbitration. Not one.
Yep.
Not one. So I don't see anybody apologizing for that, by the way, all the people, because we said on this show repeatedly, there'll be no arbitrations. There'll be no offer sheets this year. There will not be any. There have not been any. Now, McTavish has to be in camp. Has to be in camp when it starts. There can't be, you're a little bit in, you're a little bit out. You're either in or you're out. And that's why there's now all of a sudden the clock is ticking on that negotiation. I think Pat knows that, Verbeek. I think the Samueli family knows that. And I think his agents know that. So, they got to get the kid in camp.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, well, then we'll head east. And the biggest question mark, in my opinion, right now, in terms of unsigned players, would be Luke Hughes on the New Jersey Devils. Pierre, I'm talking in the East. And I spoke to Tom Fitzgerald last week. By the way, too, I want to read this quote, too, because it goes in line with what you're saying, just about how sometimes people think that teams can just spend and spend and spend. I asked Tom straight out, because we talk about this all the time. And I said, and he knows, he listens. And I said, do you think sometimes that the media and fans forget that despite the rising salary cap, most teams are going to have an internal cap? And his answer was absolutely. Not every team's built the same way. There's only one Montreal Canadiens or one New York Rangers or one Toronto Maple Leafs. And then everybody else tries to make money differently. You have to get creative off the ice, whether it's marketing, sales, what have you. Not every team has the same automatic revenue. And unless they can figure out creative ways to overcome in other areas, then they're going to have an internal cap. And it was refreshing to hear a GM say that, Pierre. It really was. I give Fitz credit. He doesn't pull punches.
No, listen, Tommy knows.
Yeah.
He's got to deal with it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And don't kid yourself. Lou Lamoriello for a long time ran the New Jersey Devils, and he ran them very well. There was no salary cap when he started in New Jersey.
Yeah. But
there was an internal salary cap.
Exactly.
And nobody made more than Brodeur and Scott Stevens.
And that was it.
That's how it went.
Yep.
So while people will say, well, he doesn't want to pay this guy. No, because you're not making more than that player, and you're not making more than that player, because those are the two players that are worth more to us than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't being rude to Kenny Danico. He wasn't being rude to Scotty Niedermayer. He wasn't being rude to Johnny McLean. Those guys know. They wanted to be part of a winner.
Yeah.
And they all were.
Yeah.
And it worked. So my point is, Jimmy, I know everybody's hot and bothered and excited about the cap going up. I can tell you that not every owner is going to spend to the cap.
Right.
They're
and
not
that's
going
why, for Devils fans out there saying, well, why is this so hard to get done with Luke Hughes? That's one of the reasons. And also, you've got that upcoming, the CBA changes. By the way, they did confirm what we reported here earlier in the summer, that will not, most of the contractual stuff will not go into effect until September 16th, 2026. So next off season is still the same as this one was in terms of signing and all
I think
that.
the one thing though, Jimmy, is there's going to be a cap. You're going to have a 20-player cap in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
you're
big
going to
one.
have a 20. So that's significant, and that starts 2026.
Yeah. So
That's the only. But everything else, your
yep.
ace is on.
So that's why Luke Hughes isn't signed yet, Pierre. I mean, there's things you got to explore, and you have to adapt in the now and the future.
He'll get signed.
Oh, you will. I agree. What did you think though of the report that he wants to only do 5 years because he wants to become a UFA at the same time as Jack?
I don't. You know how in hockey world how long 5 years is?
Yeah.
You could go through 3 coaches in 5 years. like five, just get a deal done. You don't worry about that down the road. Who knows that? What happens if Jack gets hurt again?
I know.
Why would that matter for him? You know, and I think the world of the Hughes family. We've had Jimmy on the show here, you know. So all I'm gonna say is I don't worry about that stuff if I'm doing contracts. I mean, Toronto should have been really worried about Austin Matthews a bunch of years ago, because what happens if who's from Scottsdale, Arizona? What happens if he says to Toronto, I want to go short term because at the end I want to go try to fix Arizona and live at home. Well, now he can't say that because there's no team in Arizona. They moved. But you know what I'm saying? Like, people were speculating that to me. And I was like, well, how do you know that's going to happen? Mm-hmm. What happens if Arizona's not in Arizona anymore? And all of a sudden, boom, Arizona's not there anymore.
Exactly. Good stuff, Pierre. Before we get over to our Q&A, Pierre, any other topics? I know you were talking some Leafs today on McGuire Mondays on Bet Rivers. I'll post that up for our Leafs fans, listeners, and viewers on Twitter after the podcast today. But what's up in Leafs land? Anything new or just kind of?
Well, the Marner story is pretty significant, Jimmy.
Yeah,
it really is. And the only thing I just want to say, and I'm comfortable saying this, everybody reacts to things differently. And I know there have been a bunch of people that have gone after Mitchell for his statements to Mark Masters from TSN about not feeling safe in Toronto and, death threats and this and that. And I will never criticize him for that.
No,
I never will. And people are saying, well, what about Willie Nylander? I can tell you right now, I coached Willie Nylander's father. He was a swashbuckler. His kid, Willie, is a swashbuckler, just like Michael was. Okay. Mm-hmm. Michael is his dad. And I always had a great time going to the rink when I saw Michael, because he just throw it out there. It didn't matter. And he was a heck of a player. Michael Nylander was a really, really talented guy. He really was. A lot like Willie. Just he didn't score Willie's a better scorer. Michael might have been a better playmaker. But the long story is, so everybody's comparing to Willie Nylander, you can't do that. Willie has a different feel. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to leave you with this one. And I said this on the Bet River show today with Julie Stewart-Binks, just to back my point up. I remember coaching in Pittsburgh, and Ulfie Samuelsson hurt Cam Neely. And we were in the playoffs. 2 years in a row, we played them in the Eastern Conference Final. And there were major death threats against Ulfie.
Oh, yeah.
Major. Trust me on that. These weren't fictitious. This was major stuff. Mm-hmm. And Ulfie would be smiling about it. People want to take me out. But every guy's different.
Yeah.
That's how Ulfie was as a player and as a person.
And
he was a swashbuckler. He wasn't afraid of anything or anybody. Yeah. And it was an honor to coach him and work with him. And if Kevin Stevens was there, he'd be laughing right now. We'd get off our hotel. We all stayed on the same floor in the hotel.
Okay.
And there would be policemen at the elevators. And if you didn't have the right credential, you weren't getting on that floor.
Yeah.
And then when we go down to the lobby, there'd be a corridor and we'd walk right to the bus.
Yeah.
And there would be police there. And, these guys are here for me. He thought it was funny. So my point on that is, it's funny with Ulfie. It wasn't funny with Mitch.
No.
Because Mitch, it bothered him. And I could see it. He's a new father. He's a new husband. He's worried. Everybody's different. So I'm never going to point a finger at him for that.
No.
I know people are saying, oh, you should have done that. Everybody's different. Put yourself in his shoes for 1 second. That's all I'm going to say.
And by the way, Pierre, you've got something you pointed out to me when we were talking about this the other day when the story came out. don't forget the whole car thing, the break-in.
Yeah, the break.
You know, I mean, he'd already been through something kind of traumatizing, and now this happens. Like, the guy's human. I don't know.
I'm not making excuses for him, but I will say this. I will never prejudge anybody unless I've walked in his shoes. And I never walked in his shoes, so I'm in no position. But I can tell you the other side of it is everybody has their own threshold. And so I worked with a player that did have death threats. And his threshold was way different than anybody else's.
Here, I'll tell you a quick funny one, and then we'll get to our great sponsor, Betway. This is in basketball, but back in the day, you know, remember the Celtics Lakers and the rivalry they had, right? And the Lakers were staying at this hotel across from my dad's office downtown Boston. My dad was a lawyer in Court Square, and I'm not even sure if it's still there. But anyhow, so, you know, we knew they were going to be there, and you're right. They used to have like this quarter, and they'd have police lined up, you know, but sometimes if the team said, okay, they would let fans or kids kind of get up there to get autographs or whatever. So I'm up there kind of squeezing my way through, and I'm waiting for an autograph, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is actually heading towards me, gives me the nod, like he's going to come over and sign my hat.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a bottle goes flying by his head, just like, and you know, this is a pretty high throw considering how tall this guy was.
Yeah, 7'4".
Right by, and then they broke everybody up, and they pushed us out of there, and the cops swarmed around, and they got him to the bus and got out of there. So Pierre's not lying that, like, back in the day, this stuff was real. They needed police escorts from the hotel room all the way to the rink or the arena.
The other part that people don't remember from those days, that's because I'm still a fossil. I mean, from that era. We flew commercial.
Yeah, that's right.
Like this is serious stuff. We had a Stanley Cup final playoff game in Minnesota in 1991 to start. We started 1-2, so we were going there for game 3. We were on a Northwest Orient commercial flight, and Mario Lemieux, who's 6'5", 200 at that time, probably 225 pounds, has a middle seat in coach.
Oh my gosh.
And Bob Johnson, we're all up kind of in front. They've been nice to us. And Bob Johnson says, which one of you guys is giving your seat up? And I said, well, I'll do it. And he says, no, because I want to talk to you about the game. He goes, he's doing it. And I won't tell you who he was, but it wasn't a member of our coaching staff. And Mario ended up in first class. But can you, think about that for 1 second?
I know.
Could you just see,
with social media?
Matthew Tkachuk sitting in the middle seat of a flight from Florida to Edmonton on a commercial flight with fans.
Yeah.
You think that would work?
No. And then, of course, with social media now, too. Oh, my gosh. That would go down all sorts of bad avenues. All right, let's talk about going down a good avenue when you want to lay down some bets on all the different sports that are going on now. This is my favorite time of year, Pierre, the fall, not just because of the weather, but because of all the different things we've got going on sports-wise. You got the baseball pennant races are ramping up. We're like a month away from the playoffs. NFL starting next week. College football has already started. The CFL is, starting to get their playoff seeding going. And, I mean, it's just a great time. And, of course, hockey preseason is right around the corner, and then eventually the season in October. So, very exciting time, and you can go over there to Betway right now and go all the way with Betway and bet on all of that and more. Soccer, too. By the way, my team Liverpool's looking pretty good. Bet the beauties with Betway and join the action. Go to that QR code right in front of you, or if you're at the website, go to the details section. Create a new account there. This offer is only available for new account holders, but if you go right now and you sign up for a new account, you can get up to $200 credit back on your first bet, even if you lose. So go all the way with Betway, and they will be with us. We're so excited for the rest of the season right now. Glad to have them back with us. And by the way, too, it is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly. Yeah, Pierre, it's a fun time of year. I know both of us were watching some college football this past weekend. You saw that big upset, Florida State over Alabama.
I did. I'm surrounded by a lot of Alabama people.
That's what I was going to ask. Were you with Bama or Florida State?
No, they're Bama. There are a lot of Bama people where I live right now, and it was interesting. The biggest one that pops off the page, though, is North Carolina. That was Superstar Central last night, and that was just an unbelievably bad performance. I don't know how they're going to do the rest of the way. I know the schedule's easier the next 2 games, and then it gets hard again for Carolina, but Belichick's got a lot of work to do. To me, the coolest story, though, in all of college football start the season, I think, is University of Miami.
Yeah.
University
And
of Miami.
They beat my team, Notre Dame,
Yeah.
but I love seeing them good again.
They need to be good. It's good for college football because they're different.
Yeah.
Like they chose to build their team a certain way, and they do it and they live by it and they're good at it.
Yep.
And it's really good for college football when they're really good at it. And it's good for Miami. It's good. That game was an amazing game. Notre Dame, awesome. Miami was an awesome game.
Yep.
So, I'm excited for them and their fans. So that was really cool. To me, the biggest thing about hockey is what happens with Carey Price's contract. And that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, because that's going to either create marketplace for other teams with other players, or it's going to allow Montreal to go out and get the second center they want or need. And that's not a disparaging shot at Kirby Dach at all. Not at all.
Nope.
But we don't know how healthy or unhealthy he is. We just don't know. And they can say he was out skating. Doing an August skate with your buddies is not playing in an NHL game. And I love the media and all how hard a lot of these guys are working. But can we stop prejudging players based on summer skates on social media? Can we stop that? Can we just stop? Let's get real here for a second.
I know it's getting out of hand. People are so desperate for hockey, Pierre. That's what's going on.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. But I talked to a lot of coaches in the USHL. I talked to a lot of coaches in major junior hockey. And they're asking, "Oh, what about this guy?" I'm like, "You worry about your team. Stop reading social media."
Yeah. Good call, Pierre. Before we move
your team,
before we move to the Q&A, I do have a question for you, and I'm glad you brought up Miami because it reminded me that I wanted to ask you this. Now, look, we're not going to see it on the scale. Not Miami, just college football in general. We're not going to see it on the scale that North Carolina did, obviously, because they've got much larger rosters.
Yeah.
But I did not realize how many new players they brought in. I had no idea. It was
70. North Carolina brought in 70 players.
Okay, so if you're now, again, it's a whole other level in college football, but let's get into hockey, smaller rosters, but still.
Yep.
When you're putting together your team now with the transfer portal and also the new agreement with junior hockey, how careful do you have to be to not add too much, because it's just going to be sort of chaos trying to get everybody to blend in time for the season?
I'd be really careful. And not just for one season, but for numerous seasons. Because if it looks like your program is a revolving door, kids are going to say through their advisors, be careful going to that school, because you could be one and done. You could get punted.
Yeah.
Because the next best thing's the next shining object's going to come out. In pro hockey, you don't worry about that. You get a contract, you get your money, and even if you get traded, it doesn't matter. You're moving on to the next team. It's not that easy. There are a lot of kids that went in the portal this year. I can tell you, because I talked to a bunch of them trying to help them out, and I was able to help a couple of them out. But some of them, they had to leave Division I to go to Division III.
Yeah.
So you got to be really, I'm telling you, you got to be really, people don't realize it. Okay. I'm not going to say the school's names. There's a young man that I know that plays in the USHL. He's leaving the USHL. He's going to go play in the Ontario Hockey League. Mm-hmm. And I got a text today from a friend saying, "What do you think about him going to this team in the Ontario Hockey League?" I said, "It's great. I just need to know how tough the kid is, because if the kid's tough, it's a perfect fit. If he's not tough, it's not going to be a good fit." And they said, no, the kid's pretty tough. I said, then it's a good fit. So it's not just happening junior to college; it's happening USHL to major junior, or to BCHL to major junior. There's a lot of moving parts here. But I would say that if I were building a team now, one of the biggest mistakes I think a lot of these colleges are making, they're not bringing somebody in just to oversee.
Well, you were the one who first had that idea, Pierre.
Yeah,
and then a couple schools, I can't say them off the top of my head, but some schools did actually start to do. I think Denver's one of them, right?
Yeah, but they're wise to do it. And I would tell you that not enough are doing it, and they're going to have to do it. And it's like, it's not somebody that's going to go in there and be the boss of the program, but they're going to be the conduit that's going to understand all the moving parts with Major Junior, all the moving parts with the USHL, all the moving parts with the BCHL. And they're going to open up, because this is going to be an undeveloped part of this. They're going to open up corridors into Europe, because that's going to be the Swedes, the Finns, the Germans. The Germans are producing players, the Czechs, the Slovaks. You're going to have to open up corridors there, because a lot of these lesser Division I teams are not going to get all those top kids. They're not. They're just not going to get them. So how are you going to be able to stay relevant and compete?
Yeah, supplement.
You have to find other revenue stream or other streams of players.
Right.
And one of the things I think you're going to have to do is hit Europe really hard.
Good stuff. And I don't know if he's watching us right now as we talk, but the PR guy for University of Denver, Ron Nabenbauer, just got back to me, Pierre. We've been trying to get David Carl on. He won't be on this Friday as we were hoping, but we do have him booked for one of our on-campus Fridays on September 19th. So there you go. Speaking of Denver, head coach David Carl.
Well, they're so happy to keep David. And a big reason why is we talked about this way before it happened. The Chicago Blackhawks were bringing a Brinks truck down to Magnus Arena at Denver, which is this magnificent building. And if you're a college hockey fan, you got to go to a game there. Magnus is an amazing venue to go watch a college hockey game at. And he turned the Brinks truck away. He said, "Sorry, I'm staying here."
Like it here. Yep.
You know, and good for him for doing that. That's not an easy thing to do, and he did it.
Yep.
He did it.
Sure. All right, let's get over to the Q&A. What do we got? Sammy Amanin. I hope I pronounced your last name right. Thank you for the best pod in hockey. Thank you. His cardio 5 and D game was not good enough, but just stop and think about this. When was the last time Patrick Laine played an NHL game with legit top 6 center? That's a great point.
It's a great, first of all, Sammy, thank you. Thank you for that. And that's a really good point. Number one. Number two, I think Patrick had a real good summer in a conditioning kind of a way. And I think mentally he's in a good spot. I think physically he's in a great spot. And I think that's a great point. It's a great point that he's raising. So I'm kind of excited to see what Montreal can do here. They still got some time before they really have to worry about it, but I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do. Sammy's point is excellent. It's a great point. It's a great point.
All right, next question. Narig Haverters, so happy to have you guys back full time. Thank you. There have been rumors aplenty, but which guy can you see as most likely being a Hab in the coming month? Jared McCann, Pavel Zacha, or Alexander Wenberg? I haven't heard Wenberg.
I don't think Zacha.
Yeah,
I
don't think Bruins Canadiens make a deal.
Yeah, not only that, I don't think he's a natural centerman. I think he's more of a winger than a center. Yeah. Jared can play both. I like Jared a lot. I got to know him a little bit over time, and then I had a real nice evening before Ryan Donato's wedding a couple summers ago with Jared. They were teammates in Seattle, and I think he's a tremendous, tremendous person. And as far as Wenberg goes, I don't know if he fits what Montreal's doing or trying to do. So I would say I don't see any of those three guys. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, and just a note on McCann there. Our good friend Rob Simpson, who covers both the Kraken, Vancouver, and the Pacific Division, Pierre, he reported twice in the last month that Seattle's not interested in trading him right now. Could that change come American Thanksgiving when teams start to know whether they're going to, be pushing for a playoff spot and they kind of see what they have? Maybe, but for now, I don't see him moving either.
No, Jason Bottrell's a good hockey man. I know people in Buffalo are going to not agree with me, but people in Pittsburgh will agree with me. Jason Bottrell's a really good hockey person. And him being the GM there, I think there'll be a little bit of a different way they evaluate players compared to what Ronnie would do. And so I think they need a player like McCann because of his offensive capabilities. They just don't have enough of that right now.
Agree. All right, next question. Filterless Bear, would a team like Montreal be wise to keep players in the AHL longer so that they're ineligible for the expansion draft that will eventually come? Good question.
That's a good question. It's fair. I think you just worry about how your NHL team's doing in the development of your players. I wouldn't be that concerned with that, but I do think some teams need to be concerned with that.
Yeah.
I remember having this long talk with my old partner, Gord Miller at TSN, when expansion was coming in, and everybody was doing all these crazy deals so that Vegas wouldn't, steamroll. I'm like, why are these teams? And I remember saying it on the air, and a couple of GMs called me up like, you're making me look stupid. And I go, you're not stupid. Like, don't put words in my mouth. I never said that. But I said, I can't believe all these teams are trading away 3 and 4 assets to protect player A or protect player B. You're only going to lose one player.
Right.
Why are you trading away 3 assets when you're only losing one? Just lose one.
Yeah.
You'll be able to overcome it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right. Next question. Randy Workman, where is Jack Ross?
I think Toronto, Randy.
We still.
I do. I still think Toronto. I know a lot of people in Vancouver thought he was going to Vancouver.
Yeah.
I still think he's going to Toronto. The relationship with Austin Matthews is pretty significant. There's a sense of familiarity amongst the coaching staff in terms of Roslovic's body of work. And I still think it's Toronto. But who knows? Until a deal's done, you don't know. But he fits for what they're trying to do.
Pierre, you sense that as a contract or a PTO?
Contract.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I think they're going to move. Toronto's still not finished. Okay. I think there's movement coming. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Steve Lash. What's up, Steve? Looking forward to hearing you guys 5 days a week. Thank you. With the condensed schedule with the Olympics, how vital will it be for teams to pile up those W's? Losing streaks could be devastating. Great point, Steve. Totally agree.
Spot on. You're right on, Steve. You can't have that for sure. And the other part, Jimmy, don't have a rash of injuries. If you get, a MASH unit for a team, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah.
And you can't have key guys out for long periods of time. You just can't. People are kind of saying, oh yeah, Tkachuk. They're going to miss Matthew Tkachuk in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about on the show, at the beginning of August, maybe second week of August, saying there's a good chance he's not playing.
Yeah.
Till January.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. So, that's a big loss for them.
Huge. And everyone's gunning for you, too.
One thing I'll say in defense of that now, he might not be the same. He's not the same type of player, but Mackie Samoskevich is a good player. He's a young kid out of the University of Michigan, played for Mid-Fairfield in Connecticut. He's a talented kid. This might be the break that he needs to play himself into the top 6 because he's not a bottom 6 guy, Jimmy, if you know what I mean. Remember last year in the playoffs, they had him playing in the bottom 6. And after game 2 of the Toronto-Florida series, he was out and he never saw the ice again. It was A.J. Greer, it was Jonah Gadjevich, and it was Tomas Nosek.
Yeah.
And guys like Samoskevich and Nico Sturm were out.
Yep.
And I'm just telling you, he needs to be in the top 6, and this could be his opportunity to do that.
All right. Next question. Marik Eastok. Hello, Pierre. Hello, Jimmy. Hello to you, Marik. Am I the only one who thinks that owners, GMs, and fans are really overrating their squads this season and prospects they got? Either they lie to the fans or disaster is coming.
Jimmy, can you
tell the fire there, Mac?
Can you tell Marik what we talk about almost every morning?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm flabbergasted. It used to be when you win, say little.
Yep.
When you lose, say less.
Yep.
Okay. I can't believe how much some of these teams are saying.
Yeah.
And I get social media is like the new hip way of marketing your team, and it's probably less expensive than the traditional ways of marketing your team. But man, a lot of these teams are setting themselves up. Jimmy, remember all the talks we had off the air? And I'm like, oh boy, some of these teams are setting themselves up for a major fall.
Overhyping.
Their fans are going to be mad at them. I agree with Marik 100%.
Yep. And I don't think it's necessarily that they're purposely lying, Pierre. I think it's exactly what you said, is that they're falling into this social media marketing trap.
Yeah.
You don't realize the effect it can, actually have on the game, on the.
I don't think they're lying either. I don't.
Yeah.
And this is why I think it's so important when you create a scouting staff and a management team, not everybody's like, yeah, you're right. You got to have the stick in the mud that's going to say, no,
You got to have to see.
I don't agree with you.
Yes.
And here are 5 reasons why I don't agree with you.
Yep.
And some people take that personally and some don't. The best scouts, the best teams, they have like 3 or 4 guys like that.
Yep.
Brian Burke used to tell these legendary stories when he was in Vancouver as the assistant GM to the great late Pat Quinn. And they had some tough guys on their staff, like really tough guys. Ronnie DeLorme being one of them. And Berkey would tell me, like, we'd have fist fights in the scout meetings.
I love it.
I thought that was, and you know what? Like, Berkey's a tough guy. Ryan's a tough guy, man. I'm telling you. And I could just see him because I've been in some meetings with him where I haven't always agreed with him.
Yep.
And you could see, like, I could see how that could happen. You know, I could definitely see how that could happen.
All right, good stuff. Next question. What do we got? Big Bill, Jimmy and Pierre, what new CBA rules are being implemented this season, and which teams can you see the new rules hurting? Well, Pierre just brought up the biggest one that will go into effect is that they are going to have a cap playoff roster.
20 players every day. You have to be under the cap.
Means less of that storing away these guys in LTIR for the final month of the season and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's probably my eyes, Pierre, the biggest one that's coming into effect before next summer.
Yeah, and the other one too is everybody thinks, oh, all these teams are going to spend to the cap. Do yourself a favor. Go to Puckpedia. I'm giving them a gratuitous endorsement because I think they do a very good job. It's a very, very good site. Go to Puckpedia and go look. It'll tell you everything. All the cap space for all these teams, where the teams are and comparable to other teams, what their depth charts are, what their positions are with the American League, what their prospect position is. Go if you really want to find that stuff out. Go to Puckpedia and you'll see how many teams have not spent to the cap. You'll be shocked.
Yep. All right, next question. Sound the siren. What's up, buddy? Guys, the McTavish thing is very strange. Did drafting McQueen put any damper on him? Time is getting tight.
Nah, McQueen's going to play at Providence. Great question, though.
Yeah.
He's going to go play at Providence for Nate Lehman. Nate's really good at developing players. He really is. And he hasn't had a lot of big, husky centermen like McQueen is. I don't think that affects Mason personally. McQueen's, not ready to play in the NHL anytime soon. So I think it's kind of a down the road question. I don't think it affects him.
Okay, next question. Juice _031 017. Pierre, during your time broadcasting the Stanley Cup playoffs, what was the worst you ever felt for a team after seeing them lose a playoff series? Ooh, that's a good question.
What a good question. Really, really good question. I think Detroit losing to Chicago. I forget the year, but I think they knew. I think the Detroit guys knew that was the end. It was over. There was a new sheriff in town. It was the Chicago Blackhawks. And I think they all knew it was basically over for all of them. And one of the great pictures from that series, I remember I was standing across the rink. Jonathan Toews took a penalty, and it was during a TV timeout. I'm sure it's on YouTube. And Brent Seabrook and Jonathan never really got animated, but he was unbelievably animated in the penalty box. And Brett went over and talked to him, and it calmed them down. It calmed the Blackhawks down, and eventually they took care of business. But I think I felt really bad for those Red Wing players like Zetterberg and Datsuk and Lidstrom. And Daniel Alfredson,
That's right. People forget he was there. Yeah.
He went there. He left Ottawa. I felt really bad for those guys. They were a hearty soul of a team. They were really honorable people, and they cared so much about playing in Detroit. You never pick winners and losers, but I felt bad for those guys. I really did.
Cheer for players and stories, right? For me, Pierre, and I wasn't broadcasting it, but I was covering it. It was the 2013 Bruins to the Blackhawks, just because of what it meant after the marathon bombing. Yeah, like those guys really wanted to do that, and people kind of latch on to that. And at times, you don't know if it's sincere. They were sincere. They really wanted to do that for the city, and just seeing Tyler Seguin when he came out finally to speak in tears, like that hit home for me. I knew what was going on as a Bostonian. I knew what the city was going through still. That was tough.
You know what's hard about that? We were all set for a game 7. That probably would have been, I can tell you right now, Boston-Chicago game 7 of the final probably would have been one of the largest NHL TV audiences ever. We were so geared up for that. As
And then
it was Eddie Olczyk, Doc Emmerich, and myself. We had, Matt Marvin, as good a producer as there is in hockey. We had an amazing array of people. Jamie Brannigan, I can tell you right now, nobody knows his name. Jamie Brannigan's the best EVS operator in the world. Like he does all the replays. All those replay packs you saw that we built, it was Jamie working with me, and unbelievable talent, just an amazing talent. Anyways, long story short, everybody thought we were going to Chicago for game 7.
Yeah.
And as soon as the B&B, Bolin and Bickle went to work, everybody was like, you gotta be kidding me. We're not, and we didn't care who won. We wanted to have a game 7.
those ratings would have been amazing.
The ratings would have been unbelievable, but we didn't get one.
And Julian yelling, "On your toes!"
I report right away. I'll never forget it. He's on the bench. He's screaming, boys, you're on your heels. You're on your heels. Bruins still had a lead. You're on your heels. You're on your heels. We've got to get back on our toes. And as soon as he said that, boom, the puck was in the net, and it was over.
Oh, yeah. It was like a funeral home in there.
It was over.
All right. Next question. Tim G. Everyone is saying all the teams are over the floor of the salary cap, but when teams start to tank, won't they need the salary mid-season?
Yes, sir.
Good point. Yep.
There you go. And that's why there's some contracts in play right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Next question. TG, guys, which team do you think takes the biggest step forward this season and which team takes the biggest step backwards? Well, we already said the Ducks. I think we're in agreement with that. Pierre, in the East, forward, I don't know.
I'm going to say Columbus.
I'm with you on that. Okay. How about backwards?
I'm worried about your team in Boston.
Me too. I think on my new podcast, The Bruins Vibes, I'm going to have a lot to talk about, but it's not all going to be positive.
I'm worried about your team in Boston. Going backwards. I hope I'm wrong because it's an important market for the league. I don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They've missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. I think clearly they're going in a rebuilding direction. I think the big question, and that's the one that's going to be important this year, is what happens with Sid. You know, what happens with Sid.
All right. Next question. Big guy, trading within your own division is not something to stay away from in fear of the player potentially or is this not something to stay away from in fear of the player potentially haunting them in the future? Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Yep.
It used to be a big reason. It's a great point. But now the problem is with the cap, you've got to try to maximize the value of your asset. So whether it's in the division or not, if you're moving a big contract because you need to, and you get the best return from somebody in your division, doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. And this is where it's changed. The business of hockey has changed a lot. The cap's changed the business of hockey. Some of it for the good, some of it for the not so good. I don't know. Let's just say this, Jimmy. If there was no cap, do you think we really would have had Florida Panthers going to the final 3 years in a row? I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And would the Edmonton Oilers be able to swing for the fence with everybody else? With the Canadian dollar where it is, I don't know about that. Yeah. So I think the cap has changed the business of hockey, some of it for the really good and some of it for the not so good, but more positive than negative.
All right, next question. Big guy, what teams are good trading partners?
Does that mean like who are people that are good to trade with?
I think he means like who do we see? I'm reading
I'd still San Jose is a team that I would talk to a lot.
Yeah,
I talk to Utah a lot.
Chicago.
I talk to Chicago. I would talk to Calgary. I would talk to Seattle. Those are teams that, I mean, I talk to Boston too.
All right, next question. Coach Costa Papoulis, in a contract trade, who has more leverage, especially for a team who wants it to jettison players while remaining above the floor at the deadline?
depends what your cap situation is. I'm trying to follow the line of questioning.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like every negotiation on a trade is different. There's no question. They're all different. But if you know a team has to move a contract, you have more leverage.
Right. Because
You know that they need to move the contract. So you got leverage over them, but not everybody puts that out there.
Well, how much? So let's just say we're hypothetically, it's Carey Price, and you know that the Canadiens have to do that. How high a pick can you get?
I don't know. Maybe you're getting an asset. Maybe you're getting a player.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, a lot of it depends on how important it is for them to be able to get to the floor, to be involved in revenue sharing, because they may be moving other players. So you don't, that's all. That's why when you make deals like that, you got to make sure you're dealing with people that understand the entire situation. Okay. And that, like, moving Price's contract is probably better to move it out to teams that are still developing rather than already developed teams.
All right. Next question. Mike, with all the talk around Carey Price contract being traded, how would you evaluate his career with the Habs using one word?
Winner.
And I say brilliant. There we go. He was amazing. I loved watching him. All right, next question.
I just want to say this. I've known Carey since 2005. I got to know him at the World Under-18 Championships in Pilsen and Česká Budějovice. Back then it was called the Czech Republic. And he had dyed, frosted blonde hair. And you could tell I hadn't seen any goalie that age outside of Brodeur handle the puck the way he was able to do. And he wasn't great in that tournament. Americans eventually beat the Canadiens in the gold medal game. Phil Kessel, Jack Johnson, Eric Johnson, they were all part of that American team. They were really good. But you saw, like, this player, you're like, whoa, this guy's going to be really good. When he gets it all in line, he's going to be really good. And every time I dealt with Carey from that point on, it was always tremendous. He was always honorable and nice. And the last time I spoke to him was at the Hockey Hall of Fame when Shea Weber was going in. I was with Brendan Gallagher, Nick Suzuki, Paul Byron, and Carey. We were in a corner in the upper part of the hall, and it was just all of them were talking about being part of the Montreal Canadiens and how proud they were to be part of it. It was really cool. It was cool to talk to them about it.
Good stuff. All right, next question. Derek Rendell. Hey, Pierre, do you think the hold off on adding a second line center for the Habs he's talking about is because they don't want to give Hage, Zorowski, or Beck the wrong impression on their future with the organization?
No, they're not worried about that. You never worry about that stuff when you're running a team. You can't. It's a fair question. You don't worry about that because there'll always be transition. There'll always be movement. Going into last year, how many people thought Christian Dvorak wouldn't be back with Montreal? Right. Probably how many people thought Jake Evans would be back in Montreal? So there's always movement year to year. You don't know. There's no way to predict. And with young players, they're in no position to drive your franchise. You drive the franchise. They follow along for the ride.
All right. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Do you know if players are starting to ask for crypto in their contracts? God help us. Not only hockey, but other sports. I haven't heard, Ron. I don't know. I'm sorry.
You know what, Ron? I don't know either. But I have a friend that's very substantial in crypto, and I will ask.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I never thought about that. So
I'll ask him with the permutations. I don't even know. I don't own any crypto, so I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
All right, next question. Juice_031017. It's been 2 months since an NHL trade has happened. Do you believe a few moves will happen before training camp starts? Yes.
I was one of the people that got it wrong. I thought there was going to be mucho movement. I can tell you straight up. And I got that from really inside sources. And it hasn't materialized. I don't know why. And I think part of it, I could be wrong, Jimmy. Hope I'm not on this one. I think there's some owners telling guys, just slow down.
Yeah.
Just slow down. Let's see where everything is. We don't want to get too political or talk about the business part of it, but this tariff stuff and there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Moving parts.
There are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Juice again. Pierre, the KHL season starts this weekend. How much attention do you pay to that
A
league?
lot, especially Igor Larionov's a friend. I talked to Igor probably, I don't know, month and a half ago. I hope he does fantastically well in St. Petersburg. So I'll be watching his team a lot. I like watching Bob Hartley coach, so I'll be watching Bob's team a lot. And Gerard Gallant, somebody I respect a ton, and I think it's really unique what he's doing, obviously going to Shanghai. So I'll be watching him. So I pay attention. I pay attention. There's certain players that I like to watch. Last year, obviously, it's hard not to watch Demidov, even though I didn't play very much. He did some things that were pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I watch, you know what? Jimmy knows. I watch all league. Like I watch Finland. I watch Sweden. I watch them all. So I try to watch as much as I can.
All right. Next question. Steve Lash, Guy Boucher used to say that rest is a weapon. Given the Olympics and teams having double-digit back-to-back games, how important will rest with less on-ice practice be and more video sessions?
I didn't always agree with Guy when he's used that term, by the way. So I get it. It's his line and it worked for him, but it didn't really work. But anyways, it can be a weapon, I guess. Florida Panthers are going to have to really pay attention to how long their practices are, how many game day skates they have. They're going to have to pay attention because they got a lot of guys going. But I don't know if every team's going to be affected the same way. I think the most responsible coaches always pay attention to that anyways.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, I pushed. You ask any player that I coach, like we pushed in practice, but I didn't practice for an hour. We practiced for 35 or 45 minutes. And there were some days you could go longer. There were some days you had to go less. But we pushed.
I'm interested to see how the Panthers handle the Matthew Tkachuk situation because by all accounts, he's going to come back right before that, Pierre. I mean, you can't tell this guy, no, you can't go over there and achieve one of your dreams and play in the Olympics.
No, they wouldn't even.
How important would it be just for his body, right, to get acclimated to playing again? And then, he's going to be thrown into a higher level of play, obviously a playoff-like level when he's at the Olympics. How important is it going to be for him to get some games under his belt before he gets over there?
He'll have to get some games.
Yeah.
But I think this is more of a doctor question than it is a trainer question. The surgeon's going to have to say, here's where you're at.
Yep.
Here's where we think you can go. Yeah,
Yep.
There's got to be a circle of trust here.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about to you a lot, Jimmy. Sometimes you got to save the player from himself. And I know we talked about it on this show, and I know I talked about it on CBS last year when I was working in the playoffs for them. There was something wrong with Matthew Tkachuk. The team wasn't putting anything out there, but you could tell.
We knew.
You could tell. He would. And as much as he was an important part of that team, he wasn't 100%. He wasn't even close to that.
No.
So.
All right. Next question. Max Deslava, I hope I pronounced that right. I think the fact that Pierre McGuire has his own podcast is great. I really do. Do you feel Laine Hutson will have a better season all around? Maybe not just more points than last season. Why?
Oh, I think he's going to be a lot better, especially in his own zone.
Going to continue to go like this.
He's just going to keep going up. I'm really flabbergasted at people that doubt this player.
Still.
He's an addict to the game. He's an addict to the game. All the good fortune I had in my career were all the great players that I had the honor, and it really is an honor to coach in that league, but to coach certain players, all of them, it's amazing. But there's certain guys, they're all addicts to the game.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Pronger was an addict to the game. Pat Verbeek was an addict to the game. Andrew Castles was an addict to the game. I mean, I can go down the line. Randy Cunningworth was not a star player, but he was an addict to the game. Mm-hmm. Mario and Phil Bourque are two totally different players, but they were addicted to being at the rink and winning. Paul Coffey, I never saw a guy do more than what Paul – back in the day, nobody did more than Paul Coffey to be ready for NHL game. I'm just telling you. And that's where Laine Hutson's at. Laine Hutson's an amazing player, and he's just going to keep getting better and better.
All right, next question. Big Bill, Jimmy, and Pierre, as the Habs roster currently stands, what lines do you see opening night for the forwards and the D?
Yeah.
Bill, let us get back to you on that. We'll,
Well, it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but you don't know. I mean,
yeah, well, let's see where camp goes first.
what happens if they make a deal?
Yeah.
Let's see where training camp. Let's see where training camp goes. Like, does Owen Beck make the team? Does Roy make the team?
Florian Jacquet? No.
Florian? I mean, Pascal. For those that never heard our interview with Pascal,
Yeah, go check it out.
Please.
You're gonna understand what they got in
He was outstanding.
We raved about him.
He was outstanding, but Pascal was outstanding in his interview. He was so good. Yeah. There was information that he shared with us on the show that was, if you're a fan of the Canadiens, you need to watch it.
Yep, I hear it. Well, thanks everybody. That's it for our questions here on our first back to full-time podcast here of the 2025-2026.
Hey, what about Cara Travel and Sarah Stanton?
You don't forget them, Pierre. Come on, I wouldn't forget them. Of course, I was going to talk about them in a second, but just want to thank Shane as well. And yes, I want to talk about Cara Travel. Really excited for that. I've been texting with our good friend Robert. I'm going over to an Irish festival this coming weekend, Pierre. It's Suffolk Downs. You ever go there, Pierre?
Yeah.
In Revere, Mass?
Yeah.
So it's a concert field now. They've got a huge stage there.
Yeah. Well, I remember when it was a dog track.
Yes. I know some people in my family that remember that not too fondly either. So yeah, I'm gonna see some great Irish music, and it had me thinking about our great friends over in Belfast, the Belfast Giants, and of course, Cara Group Travel and Sarah Stanton. We're so excited to be going over to Friendship 4 again at the end of November, and then again for the women's tournament at the end of December into the new year. Can't wait for that. Pierre, you're actually going to be over there before me.
I am. I'm going over at the end of October. I'm part of the International Ice Hockey Federation group. It's a panel discussion for 4 days. And I'm actually going to be doing a bunch of stuff with George McPhee, the president of the Vegas Golden Knights. So looking forward to that. I actually have the date right here. Give me a second. I'll tell you when I'm going, because I'll be doing the shows from there.
Yeah.
From Belfast at night. So George will have to babysit me. I depart on the 27th of October, and I come back the 31st of October.
Beautiful.
So I'm there from the 28th to the 31st.
Awesome stuff. Wow. There's some quotes coming out right now, Pierre, not to sidetrack, but I'll send it to you. Dylan Holloway just ripped the Oilers about what happened last year. That's never going to stop stinging.
What did he say, though?
Well, I'll read you the one I'm seeing right now. I haven't read the whole story. It rubbed me the wrong way how little Edmonton thought of me in our contract negotiations. I'm an Alberta boy. I wanted to go back to that team we went so far with, but as soon as Edmonton didn't reciprocate the feeling that I had, I was all in on St. Louis.
So the only thing I'm going to say in defense of the Oilers, that was a very unique time.
Yes.
They had fired the general manager, Kenny Holland. They had a new president of hockey operations, Jeff Jackson. They had not hired a general manager to replace Kenny Holland. And I think that there was a lot of information being passed around because people wanted to take Edmonton down. And Broberg and Holloway were the people to do it.
Yeah.
And so, look, this is not a nice guy business. It's a hard business. And St. Louis didn't break any rules, and nobody else did. But it's a hard business. So I get Dylan being angry. I do, but you know what? That was a very difficult time. We said it at the time, Jimmy.
Yes, we did.
We said it right at the time, and I feel bad. I mean, I feel terrible for that team because those two kids are really good players.
All right. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow as we go on. We're talking to some people, get some guests on later this week. We'll have our first on-campus Friday on this Friday. So looking forward to that, Pierre. Until then, you have a wonderful night, my friend. Shane, thank you for the production.
Thanks, Shane.
And thanks to everyone out there for watching and listening and for your questions. We appreciate it. We will talk to you tomorrow here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.